Tune into the Green and Growing program on Eagle Community Television with Holly Dickman, Ellis County Horticulture Agent. Holly will identify common lawn and garden issues and provide up-to-date information weekdays at noon and 9 p.m. on Channel 14. Green and Growing. Brought to you by Eagle Community Television and Riedel's Garden Center, a full-service garden center west of Hayes on Highway 40 next to the Bickle Schmidt Sports Complex.
Well, with the hot and dry weather that we've been experiencing lately, it is a really ideal condition for spider mites to become a problem. And I have been starting to get a few questions about spider mite infestations. And they are just tiny little mites that are hard to see with the naked eye, but you can certainly see the symptoms. And so there are certain plants that they're more prone to be a problem on. One of those is marigolds. They are very sensitive to spider mites and tend to have issues with them every year. Other plants that I get a lot of phone calls about with spider mites include your tomatoes and your other garden plants, cucumbers, things like that. Burning bushes, those euonymus. There's lots of different plants that spider mites can attack, virtually anything, but those are some of the ones that I get more questions about every year. When you go out to scout your landscape, which I do recommend that you do on a regular basis just to make sure you're not having any issues, make sure you look closely at the leaves. With spider mites, they tend to suck the juices out of those leaves, so they will leave the leaf actually looking stippled or dusty. A lot of times they start on the inside of the plant and then work their way out. They do prefer hot, dry weather, so that's when we start to see a lot of problems with them. And when you do go out and look, if you can't see them, another test you can do is actually take a piece of white paper and then just shake some of the leaves over the top of the paper and just kind of observe the paper and see. And if you see any little tiny specks moving around, that's an indication you might have some spider mites. Now there are some things moving around on here, but they are actually not spider mites. They're another little insect, but spider mites are very easy to find on the undersides of the leaves. A lot of times they'll be right next to the veins and they create a fine webbing if they get too severe. The way to treat for spider mites is a little bit unique. They are not insects, so one of the worst things you can do is actually use an insecticide like Sevin or permethrin on them. You can actually make the problem with spider mites much worse by using those general use insecticides. What you want to do is use products that are labeled for mites. So miticides, including just an example, Spectracide, Triazicide would be labeled for mites. Things like insecticidal soaps and horticultural oils, those things would also be labeled for use on spider mites. Now, one thing you can do that's very, very simple is if the infestation is not too severe and you've just noticed that you have some spider mite problems, go ahead and blast the leaves with a strong spray of water from your garden hose. A lot of times that's enough to knock them off the plant and help reduce that problem for the future. If you have questions about spider mites on your landscape plants or in your trees or shrubs or gardens, don't hesitate to contact your local extension office for more information. Reporting for K-State Research and Extension, Eagle TV, I'm Holly Dickman, Ellis County Horticulture Extension Agent.
Tune into the Green and Growing program on Eagle Community Television with Holly Dickman, Ellis County Horticulture Agent. Holly will identify common lawn and garden issues and provide up-to-date information weekdays at noon and 9 p.m. on Channel 14. Green and Growing. Brought to you by Eagle Community Television and Riedel's Garden Center, a full-service garden center west of Hayes on Highway 40 next to the Bickle Schmidt Sports Complex.